Hello, I am Michelle with 2 L's.
And I'm Natalie the Red.
And we are Force of Light Entertainment. And we are finally here, guys. Finally, the time has come.
Long have we waited
Yes.
for this time.
For us to be able to watch and review Stranger Things Season 4. We got Season 3 on July 4th of 2019. We have had to patiently and at times impatiently wait for this season.
I know how the world has changed since 2019, but that's a story for another day.
Yeah, we'll keep it on Stranger Things today. But yes, guys, we are excited. We are going to be breaking down these episodes, reviewing, discussing things out of these episodes, episode per episode. So if you are new, go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you like Stranger Things content, because we're going to be releasing them probably like one a day until we.
And let's go on this season 4 journey together.
Let's talk about it. There's a lot to discuss.
Let's open that curiosity door.
Yes, that's why we decided to cover it episode per episode, because if you wait till the full season's finished, there's just so much to discuss when it comes to Stranger Things.
Like, how do you wrap that up in one video?
You really can't. So that's why we are breaking it down again, episode per episode. So be on the lookout each day for a new episode until we finish, the first part, volume 1 of season 4. And then we'll do the same when part 2 or volume 2 drops in July. So let's go ahead and get into season 4, episode 1, titled, Natalie,
The Hellfire Club.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into this.
That's why she keeps me around.
Let's get into this, because this episode, you see a lot of, which I knew going into this, that this season would have to be very different, just because, of course, Hopper's not there when at the end of season 3, Joyce and them have gone to California. So
the gang's been split.
Yes, it's been split. And that's kind of where, we pick up in those first 8 minutes that you can watch our live reaction to those first 8 minutes in a different video. I'll link that to this one, actually. But you can see that there. You get that first opening scene, which is very intense, of a flashback.
And very Stranger Things.
Very, totally Stranger Things. I totally appreciate, we talked about that when we made that video, but just that whole intro. And then I think it kind of
strong opening, in my opinion.
I think they were showing you right out of the gate, we're going back to more horror in the season, because I think season 1, they all had elements of horror throughout each season. But I feel like season 1 had the kind of the strongest kind of, type of horror elements.
I agree. I think most people kind of feel that way about the show.
Yes, and I feel like that opening was telling us, that's what we're going back to.
This is what we're in for.
Yes, like that level of intensity and horror that you got in those first 8 minutes kind of sets the tone, I think, of this season.
There will be blood. And
I know Natalie's already watched the full season. I've only watched thus far, as of recording this, two episodes, the first 2 episodes. And thus far, I would say that the tone of this season is much truer to season 1.
Yeah, that's true.
There's still humor in it, as there was in season 1, but it's a little more serious than it had gotten in season 2 and definitely season 3.
And I just think, and we'll get into this, or we can now, but some of the influences, because I think the Duffer Brothers and Stranger Things, they have always kind of pulled inspiration. I think they tell you that, it's from the things they loved growing up.
Yes, from so many 80s type things.
So many 80s things. So I think this season they really pulled from some of the scarier, more horror type stuff of maybe the 70s and 80s.
Yes.
So you will see that in this.
Yeah. So that's kind of
The Exorcist.
So that's kind of the tone of this, and when you get that at the very end of this episode, what she's referring to, that's kind of the tone. But then you get the start of this episode, and we get, outside of the beginning, the intro, you get 11, of course, writing to Mike, telling how her life is in California, and she depicts
a rosy
picture of how things are going, and of course we'll see later on that that's not quite the case. But right off the beginning, you see how, again, as I said, I believe this season would be different. Everyone's kind of on their own and working through things.
Yeah.
You've got 11, as we're about to get into, who is being bullied at school. You've got Max, who's coping with I mean, her mom being left by her crappy stepdad, Billy, of course, his death and her kind of trauma of watching that. So she's kind of going through things where, of course, Lucas eventually says to her, like, you're not normal. And, you're not, you're not okay. You're not okay.
And quite honestly,
she's not.
That is more realistic.
It is.
It would be kind of unrealistic for these kids to just bounce back like, yay, life's great again. That's not generally life.
Yeah, I mean, they saw like a claw go through his heart.
Right.
I mean, it was pretty brutal.
They definitely have shared trauma, as Jonathan tells Nancy at the end of season 3.
Yeah, yes, definitely. And so you've got that. You've got Max coping with what she's going through, and she goes to the counselor, and you see her taking some kind of pills. I don't know what she's taking at times.
Yeah.
But she's going through a lot of heaviness on Max's life, that you can tell. Then you've got Lucas, who he's tired of being a nerd, and he's trying to now be a jock, and
he's ready to be a cool kid now.
He's ready to be a cool kid. So you got that. So then
he's got a plan going to bring the others in to be cool kids. It's sweet, actually.
Which would never really work. That plan's going to fail.
It's the thought that counts.
It is. And then you've got Mike and Dustin, who, of course, they've lost Will, and now Lucas is kind of doing his own thing to a degree. So they're kind of on their own. So everyone's kind of having to adjust to these changes that they're all going through in life.
Yes.
And I mean, Steve's just being Steve. I will say this. I told Natalie in the first 2 episodes, they were a little Steve light for my liking. And I'm going to need.
We like a lot of Steve on the side.
I'm going to need more Steve sprinkled in to my Stranger Things moving forward, which I feel like he's starting to work his way in more by the end of the second episode.
And I can just tell you he will.
Okay. So that's good. But yeah, so you've got a lot of changes going on. And then you get the introduction to the new kid, Eddie.
Right.
And my initial thoughts in that first time we see him was kind of like, this is a bit much. But then I was saying it kind of reminded me of, I don't know his name, the lead guy in The Weirdest One in The Breakfast Club. It kind of felt like they were going for that type
like
thing.
School rebel vibes.
Yes, and kind of weird. I mean, that guy was weird in The Breakfast Club.
He was a little out there, but he knew what was up. But this guy, he also, I told Michelle, and tell me if you see what I'm saying in the comments. If you watch too much like Pauly Shore stuff or the Pauly Shore movies,
I kind of get that.
Just the way he talks and reacts, sometimes he kind of reminds me of Pauly Shore.
Gotcha. Okay. So
then, I wonder if that was an inspiration, but
so then you've also got this. Well, first let me say this. So we get to the real situation of 11, and we see that she's being bullied. And I mean, the scene where she presents like her history assignment, like with her dad, Hopper, like my heart was crushed.
It was traumatizing just to watch.
It really was. Like my heart was breaking. And it's like, no one messes with 11. Like that's how I feel internally.
And just so mean. And Millie Bobby Brown is such a good actress.
She is
this
phenomenal.
is the first time we're really talking about the little nitty gritty of the episode. But does it not get you too? They make a comment about like, oh, looks like more like diarrhea or something. And she goes, and laughs kind of like, she's obviously, that would be like traumatizing for a kid being up. But she was like, even then, she's like, man, I'm trying so hard to make everything good. I'm just going to act like that comment. I think it's funny too. And then it just goes on to be brutal.
Well, and I mean, something I want to say about 11, I think right out of the gate with this this first episode, there's a lot of talk today's time about female characters being a Mary Sue. Well, one character that is not a Mary Sue is 11, played by Millie Bobby Brown. I mean, this character,
she's had a lot of hardship.
She has had to overcome constantly, and you see that again at the beginning of season 4 in this first episode. Her having to now deal with being bullied at this new school.
Because once again, that makes sense too. Like 11 coming from her background, she's probably not going to be, fit right in with the other kids. So that was also probably a realistic portrayal of something 11's character would go through.
Yes. And as you said, 11, I think because of all of her trauma, she's trying so hard for things to be fine. And it's like, clearly they're not, but she's trying to work through that in this first episode. And I will say, the Duffer Brothers, who wrote and directed this first episode and the second one, actually, but they do such a good job. And I think that's why I've enjoyed all the seasons of giving the fans what we didn't know we needed. And the friendship I didn't know I needed until watching this first episode is Eleven and Will. And I've kind of like their little moments, because like Will really feels for her, and I really enjoy their kind of dynamic because he knows what it's like. That's a flashback to season 2 where they're calling him the weird kid.
That's
like
true.
He knows what it's like. He knows
Yeah.
what it's like to be bullied, and I've actually always kind of wanted, I think deep down, this connection, because I feel like Eleven more than anyone else understands what Will went through in that first season.
Well, I know, funny little behind the scenes, I guess they both requested.
Well, because they're really good friends.
Yeah, because they're really good friends in real life. They're like, we just want to have more scenes together if possible.
Well, and I think it works because, I mean, now they're kind of almost like brother and sister at this point.
I was going to say it's a closeness, like they really are more like, they've become more brother-sister type relationship.
Yes, and it's kind of like him watching a sister being mocked and made fun of. I mean, when that girl at the, gosh, what's her name? She's awful. She's awful.
She is the worst.
She is
Angela.
Angela is the worst. Angela
is a blonde devil.
When they stomp on her project that they've already basically, I mean, destroyed her over, which I mean, she's admitting to this class her father died, and they don't care at all. They're just mean.
Gosh,
but when they like smash it, that guy smashes it and laughs.
They laugh.
Like those little sweet moments, like with her and Will, were just kind of precious for us Stranger Things fans, because I mean, Stranger Things does such a good job of it's the relationships and the connections that they built. Is why you love it, these characters. So I really enjoyed, that was the relationship, the friendship I didn't know I needed until this started. Let's see. So then you also have the cheerleader that that's kind of running throughout this first episode. Yes, Chrissy. And you kind of see kind of what's going on here. And then you get, and I will say,
and then you kind of get that first, okay, it's almost like the formula. Okay, this is how this is going to go, or this is how a person's going to be haunted, basically.
Yeah, because something's got to start the chain of events in each season, and she's the one that does it in this one. And then I will have to give a call out to the pep rally. I will say, even me playing sports, I hated pep rallies. Who likes pep rallies? I mean, I think they just kind of captured the way people feel deep down about a pep rally. And that was just so Stranger Things, that whole scene. It was a classic.
I love to. We're just getting we're just really going in depth here, I guess.
Well, I mean, that's what we're doing with these episodes.
But once again, and how Stranger Things ties stuff in so well. So it's like Tammy, what is it, Tompkins, all the way from Nashville. So that girl that Robin had a crush on at season 1, and there's that funny joke, or to me, when Steve imitates her and says she sounds like a Muppet or whatever, and so then she starts singing, and Steve and Robin are looking at each other, and he's like,
I mean,
and
it wasn't the best version of the national anthem I've heard. That's all I can say about that. So then you finally, someone that
and let me Robin and Steve, they work really well off each other.
They do work well off of each other, and you get a little bit of them in the first episode, more in the second one,
right?
But then someone that my brain, because you're taking so much in this because there's a lot of groundwork laid in this first episode, because you've got multiple storylines going, and new characters to introduce and things like that. And I'd kind of forgot this one character that I love, until, of course, Mike and Dustin, since Lucas can't help him out because he's got a big game, they need someone to play D&D with them that night. So they turn to who other than...
After asking, literally everybody
else. Everyone says no, except one, Erica. And I genuinely cracked up sitting there watching it by myself. I was laughing out loud with the slow-mo as they walk into the room. And Erica's got the American flag draped over her, because she can't spell America without Erica. And that scene, I really cracked up. And of course, I mean, they win with Erica, and that was cool. How they did the slow-mo of Lucas shooting the shot and her rolling the dice.
I actually kind of enjoyed that, the parallels. Here's the sporty kids and what they're, what's important in winning and victory, and here's, the freaks and nerds, as they call themselves. Hey, their words, not mine.
Yeah,
but that's their victory. So kind of the what's going on in each world.
Yeah, that scene was a lot of fun. Enjoyed that for sure. And then you get towards the end. So you see, okay, first with what's her name, the cheerleader? Chrissy, you get that bathroom scene and you're like, what's going on? Like as the audience, you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, let us know what you thought about it in the comments.
I mean, it was creepy.
It definitely was creepy. And the fact that it's kind of psychological,
yes.
It starts out with something pleasant, usually, starts out with something pleasant.
And then horrifying.
Yeah. And usually stemming from some kind of trauma or something.
Yes, that was like, okay, what's going on here? So then it moves towards the end of the episode and you get Chrissy and she's wanting drugs. She wants more.
So enter our new guy.
Yeah. Enter our new guy. She goes to him for, that's, I guess, who you go to in
Eddie,
Hawkins.
that's right.
You go to Eddie and
you call Eddie up.
Yeah. She called Eddie up and went to his house. And of course, Max, Eddie lives in the same neighborhood as Max. So she sees her go in. And that's where stuff really goes down at the end.
Oh, and before we get to the end, let me touch on.
Actually, before we get to the end too, let's go. You say what you're going to say, but then let's not forget Joyce and Murray.
Yes, Joyce and Murray, and also, I didn't want to leave out Jonathan and the new character Argyle.
Yes.
I didn't see Jonathan Byers becoming a pothead, but hey,
he did. That was funny when 11's
comic wise, it works.
That was funny when 11 was like describing it in the letter to Mike. She's like, but he says it's a plant, so it's natural.
But don't tell Joyce.
Yeah, but don't tell Joyce the way he because she's so matter of fact and black and white. So
it's so cute the way she said. Speaking of, here we are, we're just all over the place. But in that letter, she said, Will is acting weird. It's just her writing style. Then she said, Jonathan is acting weird also. And then she goes on to say,
yes, but then you also I did crack up when, of course, Joyce gets this mystery box with this Russian postage on it. It's got this doll. And who do you call when you get such a box? You call Murray. And
I love Murray too.
I love Murray too.
I love the character of Murray and the actor that plays him. He's just so consistently funny. I think
he is such comedic relief.
Yeah,
and the way he has her open up the doll, and the neighbor, the mom's like, "Come on, honey, come on, kids!" Like, because she's out there just like, looks like a total weirdo, as Joyce often does.
Yeah, that's usually the spot she's in.
Exactly, and so you got that going on. But then we move to the end of the scene, and the end of this episode. And you have the cheerleader going to Eddie's house.
Trying to numb out her problems.
Yeah, just trying, I guess, to block out whatever's going on psychologically.
Do drugs, kids.
Yes.
Nugs. Chicken nuggies, not druggies.
Yeah, since we're to the 80s, just say no. And anyways, you get her at the house. And that's where it's like, all of a sudden, the psychological thing begins. And she's standing there, but she's in a whole totally different situation.
Like she is in a
she's
trance.
Gone.
Like her body's there, but
she's
gone.
She's gone. She checked out. And
she left the building.
And when he comes back, for starters, you just feel so much like horror in that whole scene of just like the horrifyingness of her trying to get away and she can't. It's just such a bad dream.
And it's like that her mother turning into this like monster, and then she goes to her father for relief. And then they really upped the horror of the season, I feel like.
Oh, it was intense. And then Eddie, of course, is looking for what he's going to get. And then
Special K.
Yeah. And then Eddie's comes back and she's just like, she's gone. And then what Eddie witnesses, as she
terrorize a person for life.
Absolutely. As she levitates, and then it was like the sucking of the eyes that really got me in the bones.
The crunching for me.
Yeah, crunching of bones is pretty brutal. It's pretty rough. Yeah, so you get that.
There's certain things the human eyes just don't want to see.
No, and that was one of them. And of course, Eddie flees. But that is the end of what is it called? The Hellfire Club?
The Hellfire Club.
And to me, that was a great first episode.
And like Michelle said, that there was a lot of groundwork to lay.
There was.
While making it entertaining, for the first episode.
But that very end really like pulled you in of what's going on here. I was already pulled in because I love Stranger Things.
Yeah, we're down for the ride.
But it had a great final moment to really pull you into the season.
Of like, man, the stakes are high. They're always high, but they're a little extra horror-y high.
The stakes are high.
I don't know if that was the right. They're a
So
little extra brutal this season.
So we'll rate, we do out of 5 hoots, 5 being the most level, the max level of enjoyment. We'll rank each episode. Nally, how many hoots do you give this episode? Episode 1.
I don't even know that I'm going to be very professional here. I'm just going to say I'm going to give it 5 because I was just so excited to dive back into Stranger Things.
I'm going to give it 5.
I was so excited.
I'm going to give it 5 hoots too, because somehow they managed to, with things being as different as they are, they managed to like go back to its roots of like season 1 in a way that feels like it's like they breathe fresh life into this show. And I don't know. To me, it was just, it
still feels like Stranger Things.
No, absolutely.
Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Locations
but it's like they mix things up enough that it feels fresh.
Yeah, it does.
It feels fresh.
They're offering us something different this go round.
They are, but like a good different that feels familiar.
Yes.
So it's
not too different. I get what you're saying.
It's so I was really I thought they did an amazing job opening this season. I didn't really know what to expect because I thought things would be different, and they are, but they've done an amazing job of getting my interest. I immediately hit to go to the next episode. How can you not in that situation?
It's so addictive.
And yeah, I give it 5 hoots. So that is our review / discussion of Stranger Things season 4, episode 1. We will be releasing episode per episode reviews like this.
We're a little excited if you can't tell.
We are. So be on the lookout tomorrow for the next episode. We'll be dropping that. But if you are not yet, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also give the video a thumbs up. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember to be a force of light. All right, bye guys.